This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Hello, everybody. We're going to get started here shortly. Going to let a few more people pop on. And then, of course, Alpha Warrior. Hello, Santino. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, Jenny. How are you doing, love?
I'm doing great as always. Never complain, right? Life is great. What a time to be alive, everybody. So, real quickly, I'm going to do some PSAs for those of you that don't know who I am. I kind of typically do some PSAs so people know where to find me if they want to find the podcast or whatever. So, I am Jenny. I am the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today, we have Alpha Warrior in the house. So, please, everybody, if you want to request a mic, please do so. I will unmute your mic at some point in this podcast, and you guys can speak to Alpha, myself, or Santino. Also, to everybody, we are being listened to in over 100 countries, and I'm not just here on X, I'm everywhere. So I do post the podcast on the podcast hosts, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Also on all of my social medias, which are Jenny Jareed Facebook, at Jenny_Jareed X, at J Jareed Rumble, at J Jareed Instagram, at J Jareed True Social, the Revival of America on Telegram, where I do a lot of my lives with the guests, and the Revival of America on YouTube. And then last but not least, at the official J Jareed over on TikTok. Uh, if you don't know about my podcast, what my podcast is about is people's voices. You're not going to hear my voice on the podcast the majority of the time. I don't overtake that. I allow the individual, the guest, to come on and tell their story, their journey, whatever it is. Alpha, come on and we'll talk about some stuff, and then I open it up to the audience, so you guys, the audience, can have your voices heard as well. It is very important for me to have the audience's voices heard as well, because so many people have felt shunned, ridiculed, whatever it is, right? We've all felt it, right? So your voices matter, everybody. So please don't be afraid to ask any questions to myself, the guests, whomever it may be, because the Revival of America is about people's voices. Also, too, I encourage everybody, if you do have a journey or story to tell, and you've been looking for a platform to get your story on because you've been shut down, you've been too afraid to say it. This is why I created the podcast, because we were all censored very heavily in the beginning of this. I encourage you, don't be afraid. Use your voice. I know it's a little sticky out there and spicy and nerve-wracking to tell the truth, to be shut down and then just be hounded on it, right? Don't worry about it. Let's do it. This is how the truth comes out, and this is how the new world is going to be shaped by your story, your journey. Your voices matter, everybody. So please use them. Don't be afraid. And you can submit your story to TROA submissions at yahoo.com. We do vet these stories, just so you know, because unfortunately, we have those imposters out there that like to just get there, try to be relevant, right? So give me a little synopsis of your story at TROA submissions at yahoo.com, and that stands for the Revival of America. We will go through this story and we will contact you, and then you yourself will come onto the podcast and share your story. I think many people send me their stories thinking that I'm going to share the story and use my voice to tell it. No, you guys, I want you guys to do it because it's your story, your journey, your voice that matters. And it just it comes differently from the actual voice itself. So again, I highly encourage you, if you have a story or journey to share, please reach out to me. Also, to everybody, sign up for the newsletter. You can do that at therevivalofamerica.com. It is free. You get the weekly updates on the show lineup as well as the latest updates on the podcast. I'm doing, depending on the week, 4, 6, 8 podcasts a week. I do have a day gig, so bear with me, everybody. I do this in my spare time, so it's important to me to get the information and the truth out from all the guests that I have. And you'll find with me, I'm very consistent. I'm very consistent with my guests because I do believe stick and stay, everybody, with the 3 to 5 people that haven't led you wrong through the course of your journey here, because more than likely they're going to get you over this hump. There's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, doom and gloom, black pilling, fear mongering out there. Stay out of the noise. It's noise, everybody. They want that to divide us. So stay out of that bullshit noise, because there's a lot of it. And I'm going to tell you this right now from the information that I'm getting. X is a big time misinformation, disinformation stage here. So the war is here. A lot of it is here on X, but please be careful who you listen to and who you follow, because I'm telling you, your mind is a powerful thing. And if you're not mind right in this, if you don't have a strong mind, you can easily get led in the wrong direction. So please, everybody, be careful who you follow. I can't tell my audience that enough, because it can be very scary. But in reality, we have a lot of winning going on. So that's what we need to be hanging on to, is these wins. I mean, we'll talk to Alfie. He just popped in the room, but a lot of great positive things happening, everybody. So hang on to those wins, however big or small they are, because like Trump says, we're going to get tired of winning, winning, winning. And with that, I want to welcome Alpha to the stage. What's up, buddy?
Excited for this conversation. I'll make you me my cup of coffee, and it's showtime.
Yes, it is. And I mean, I was writing down notes and I'm like, what? And again, everybody, this is just free. We no script, right? I just go off the cuff, like, Alpha does, and many of us do, right? So there's so much going on, but I do want to talk about, and you talk about it, Alpha, what's happening at the forefront. And then Santino, before we go into that, I'll have you do your thing. But obviously, what's happened yesterday with Trump's tweets. So Santino, go ahead with your dealio that you do so well, and then Alpha, you can go right into it, my friend.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever part of the world you're in. Thank you for coming to Jenny's Space. It's phenomenal space with our guest host, Alpha Warrior. Can you please go down to that purple pill? That purple pill is located at the bottom right of your phone. I'd like you to go in there. Please like the space. I would like you to like and share the space. In fact, could you please quote and share the space? Get some more people in here. We're going to be talking about a lot of topics going on right now in present time, and I think it's going to be a phenomenal space. Thank you so much, Jenny, for having me, and welcome more Alpha.
Thank you, Santino. Thumbs down. What?
You know what? It's Jenny. It's those big fingers I have.
I'm kidding. All right, Alpha, the stage is yours, my friend. You are on fire. Josh is on fire. I'm trying to get him on the show as well again. And I think honestly, everybody, we're all pretty much on fire, doing some great work, and I'm just super excited about it. I've got a big smile on my face, but Alpha, go right into it, my friend, because I know you got a lot to say.
No, absolutely, and I know there's a lot of ears that give your spaces and your podcast third time. And I always say this, Jenny, and I'm going to say it again because it is that important to me. Time is a currency that we never get back. Um, and I've crossed hopefully what I think is that halfway marker in my life at the age of 45, which means that time has even gained more value to me. And I know that there's a lot of people that feel that way. So thank you for choosing to spend that currency here with me and Jenny and Santino and the other voices that you'll hear today. We just know that we appreciate it and we acknowledge the value of that. There's a lot going on right now in our country and in the world. But I first want to start off with something before, because I know there's a lot of fun stuff everybody wants us to get into, but I want to make sure that I cover something that's important to me, and it's this cognitive battlefield. It's the being inside the fifth generation warfare for your mind. And the reason I want to start off the conversation with addressing this, Jen and Santino, is as we approach the apex of this cognitive war, things are going to get more confusing. A lot of people have seen it over the last few weeks and few months, and good and bad are gonna start to optically look intertwined, and that's gonna create a lot of confusion. The deep state's gonna try to exploit that to subvert the support that President Trump has. The deep state is gonna try to exploit that to create chaos because it's hard for people to think and concentrate during chaos. And what I want to do is just start off by what we would say in the military, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And bring us back to the basics. Just looking through some of the profile pictures that are in here, most of you are just advanced. You're advanced red pillars that I'm still learning from. But a lot of times we get so advanced and so ahead of our skis that we forget some of these fundamentals. And if our elite special forces throughout the world every now and then get brought to the basics of just sight picture, sight alignment, breathing, trigger control, it's for a reason. And I've said this several times, you know, war, the rules of war apply whether it's kinetic, information, digital. And that means we need to bring it back to the basics. So what's the thing that I want to remind everybody to do? Is more critical now than ever to revet everybody you listen to. It is more critical now than ever to reevaluate the consistency of people. One thing that liars do not have is the ability to be consistent. There's a constant change if you're paying attention. Sometimes with the really great liars, it can be very subtle. But there's a lack of consistency when people are liars. There's a lack of consistency when people don't have character. There's a lack of consistency when people's mission is not the same as yours. And I would say the vast majority of people here, our mission is protect America or our respective countries and humanity. And if you really want to get into the details of that, the children. And so reevaluate people over the last 4 years, 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, 6 weeks, 72 hours. And when you start to see an inconsistency, this should raise red flags. So, leading off of that, I would tell everybody um, three accounts that I would follow right now. First one, General Flynn. You got to follow that account. The second one, Boone Cutler. You got to follow that account. The third one, somebody in this room that you're not following right now. Not outside this room. Go through all the PFPs and find an account in here that you're not following and follow that. Develop a new relationship with a like-minded warrior because the names of notoriety are important, but our fellow, digital soldiers are also important. Sometimes we make things top heavy in leadership, and you hear that saying, a lot of chiefs, not enough Indians. Well, we need to make sure that we are following a lot of our digital soldiers, and open up communications, you guys. And I'm guilty of this too. Early on, when I started to get into this digital battlefield and get very red pilled, because the vast majority of you are way senior to me in your time of being red pilled. And when I was doing that, I was doing a lot of listening, not a lot of communicating. And where I noticed my biggest growth came for me personally was in communicating, finding other people that are out there that I wasn't just listening to, but I could have conversations with, I could ask questions with. If they said something and I wasn't sure, or maybe I disagreed, I'd have a conversation with them, and either I would learn something new or they would. And so I would say one of the reasons I want you guys to follow someone you're not following is to open up communication. And then the last thing that I will tell you guys to do is not following, but it's a behavior thing that I would like to see you guys do. Start visiting spaces you've never been to, even if it's people that don't like you, even if it's people that aren't going to listen to you. It's going to serve two purposes. Purpose one is, if it's an enemy space, you're going to see the rhetoric that they're pushing, which lets you know how you have to adjust, your fire mission. Two, there's people in there that are probably seeking the truth, listeners. And if there's disinformation, misinformation, or agenda being pushed, this is your opportunity to have the courage to take the mic, go behind enemy lines, take the arrows, take the slings, and fight to put the truth out there, or at least a different perspective for the people that are listening. And so I wanted to start the conversation with that information, Jenny, because I think this cognitive battlefield is extremely important. We always say, information warfare, but I think we forget, what we're saying. Like, it's like, the word hell. If you rewind the clock 6 years ago, it was a terrifying word that not a lot of people like to use. But then we watered that word down because we use it so much and it lost its impact. And the word information warfare should have that, but because it gets utilized so much, I think we've watered it down, and that's dangerous in my opinion. The next thing that I would tell you guys to do, I have a bias here. Um, you can go to the alphawarrior.substack.com and look at the last article that I wrote, which is a very in-depth assessment and analysis of cognitive warfare. But if you don't want to do it, or you don't have a Substack, I would tell you to go to the devil's Google and look up this information. U.S. Ambassador Nathaniel C. Fick, that's Fick with an F, Fick, and look up his interview on cybersecurity threat of foreign actors. Now, of all things, and it was securing cyberspace. If you look it up, it was a Washington Post thing. Of all things, it was sponsored by freaking CrowdStrike. And if you guys are unfamiliar with CrowdStrike, you'd be like, "What?" This could very well be one of those things that they have to tell you, and they did. But one of the statements that he makes in there is that the public has no idea the foreign influence in social media that's affecting their everyday perceptions of reality. It's something I've said, Jenny said, Santino said. You've heard so many people bring this information to the forefront. If you want someone with the quote unquote position of authority to tell you, especially someone that we probably aren't very big fans of, this is literally the deep state telling you, yeah, there's foreign influence here. So with that, Jenny, I don't know if you want to make a statement to that. Santino makes a statement that, or if you guys want to take questions on that particular part. I think it's I just want to make sure that we started with that, because the temperature is going to get turned up over the next few days and few weeks. And like I said at the beginning of this, good and bad optically is going to start getting intertwined, and it's going to get very confusing for people if they don't know how to address it.
Yeah, And we've been told, everybody, that people we think have been good giving us information, we're going to find out that they're not. So Alpha is 1,000% correct on that. And I think the closer we edge toward the end of this horror show, however you want to call it, I think General Flynn said it the other day, the next 72 to 96 hours could be very dramatic here for humanity. So your mind, everybody, is a powerful tool. And if you are not prepared for it, if you step into a space, if you step into a live chat on Facebook, Telegram, wherever, and you don't feel like you can handle it, it doesn't resonate with you, get the hell out of there. Because I'm telling you right now, I have seen people walking this walk with us all this way. Now all of a sudden they're hearing the doom and gloom. They're not strong in the mind. They're going that direction. So it can be very dangerous, everybody. You've got to be prepared for what Alpha is saying. It is going to get spicy. Well, it's spicy right now. It's going to get spicier, and you are going to get more confused with the people you're like thinking, "Oh, I've been following them for 5 years," and all of a sudden now he turns out to be not who you thought he was, or she, or whoever group it may be. I've seen it already starting to happen, and it's going to get more intense. So please, everybody, be careful. Stay out of the noise. Stay stay with the consistency. Like I was telling you, my guests are consistent, and they're very consistent in the information they give you. Alpha the same way, Josh Reed the same way. You got Derek Johnson's very consistent. So I'm right there with you, Alpha. I support you 1,000% on that, and that's great advice to give. And I'm really glad that you opened it up with that, because a lot of people need to hear this more and more from each of us, different people, not just me, not just you, Alpha, not just Santino, but other people that they follow. If they feel the same way, they need to hear this exact same stuff. So thank you, Alpha. Santino, do you want to add to that?
Yes, I just echo everything he said, but I'm not going to repeat it. I think that we're at a time right now where, there's a few people that want to be neutral, meaning that they want to have, they want to be in the back, just watching both sides, stay neutral. They have friends that are on the left, they have friends on the right, and they feel like they're being pulled in two different directions, and they just don't want to be pulled anymore. I mean, at that point, you agree to disagree. Keep your mind clean. You have your own personal views on what's going on. Stand the truth. Stay on the right path. That's what I believe. That's what I'm doing. And don't turn on each other. Just don't turn on each other. The first time when you lose credibility is you have somebody with you that you trust and you like, and they start to steer you in the wrong direction. They're giving their point of view, but they're trying to change your mind. That is not the plan. You can have your personal perspective, but don't force it on somebody. I mean, that's where you lose credibility. So I want everybody to understand, stay on the right path, follow the right path, have your own objectives, have your own truth, have an open ear for everybody, but do not be manipulated. Do not be misguided. Okay, stand for what you believe in.
Amen. And anybody here, if you guys have questions to that effect, please feel free to request a mic. I will unmute your mic. But here in the meantime, Alpha, go for it. It's your show, my friend. Remember, my podcast is all about the guest's voice, not mine. So
No,
it's all
100%. So let me just cover three terms that get used a lot. I just want to make sure we all have like a basic understanding of them. And I think at least two of them I've used so far, just kind of in the opening monologue here. But irregular warfare, we hear it, we say it, but what is it? And just understand, if we want to go off definition, it's a form of warfare where non-state actors, unconventional tactics, and psychological operations are used to destabilize, disrupt, or defeat a more powerful adversary through indirect means. So, you know, you're talking guerrilla warfare, cyber operations, propaganda, psychological operations, which the slang term, psyops, proxy wars, economic sabotage, infrastructure sabotage. That's irregular warfare. So then information warfare, which is something you guys probably hear on the daily. Definition of it: this is the strategic use of information to gain a competitive advantage over an adversary by manipulating what people believe, perceive, or know. And this is conducted, I mean, social media, the news media, alt media, radio, Substacks, um, podcasts, AI bots, which we see is notorious um, on these platforms. And then the third term that I want to cover is fifth generation warfare. Again, if you guys haven't done it, I would definitely go buy General Flynn and Boone's book on fifth generation warfare. You could read it in a weekend, and it'll put you, you'll be ahead of 90% of the world population just by reading that book. Fifth generation warfare is a form of warfare that is decentralized, psychological, and perception based, leveraging narratives, data, memes, AI, and psychological manipulation rather than bullets and bombs. The thing that's important to take note of when we say fifth generation warfare is when you look at the evolution of warfare to the very beginning, generation one, sticks and stones, and then it just progressed through their arrows, bullets, tanks, airplanes, biological warfare. All this is the evolution, but then fifth generation warfare is the information battlefield. So you have someone, General Flynn, with the capacity he served this country in and knowledge. You have Boone Cutler, who was a sergeant in Army psychological operations, two people that are authorities in these respective fields that are telling you that the evolution of warfare is information. And just I want you to grasp that thought. Information is far more powerful and dangerous than tanks and bombs and trench warfare. And so when you can grasp the concept of that, it brings us back to this basic principle. And I used to say it a lot, and I'm going to get back to it. Words matter. And when I read the definition of fifth generation warfare, it mentioned something in there, perception based. And when I was a very young officer, and I see John McCarty in here, NYPD guy, solid. If you guys were still looking for an account to follow that you're not following, I would say it's John. You want to talk about a man of character and principle. That's that guy. And I love the fact that I've had the opportunity to talk with that guy. He's an outstanding person. But he would understand this. As a young cop, one of the things that I learned was perception is more important than truth at the beginning of something. Now, I know a lot of people right now, I created a discernment issue with you. Why? Because we've always been told truth is the most important thing. And I agree with you. But you also have to understand in information warfare, the battle for perception is what's important in the beginning because perception has the most immediate impact. Truth always wins, but truth moves like molasses. Perception operates like a camera flash. And so when you understand this and you approach this from the position of a good person, I'm not saying to lie and manipulate because I'm against that. What I'm saying is understand what perception is, understand the impact it has, and understand how you can utilize perception to make sure you're supporting and pushing the truth so you give truth a fighting chance. So what am I saying with all that? When you look at some of the photos, and we'll go back, I won't even mention just wartime photos. You guys have seen the videos out there on YouTube and on different things where you see the picture of a boot on a kid's neck. That's perception. Oh my God, that's awful. It impacts your emotions. It creates anger. It's moving you to feel a certain way. And then you've seen where they zoom out of it, and it's the kid has his own arm in the boot and he's doing it to himself, and there's nothing there. And then you're like, oh my gosh. I use that example to prove my point. Perception had the bigger impact on you. Truth, when you zoomed out, was like, oh, well, that's what's being deployed on you guys every single day on this platform. You're being brought into these isolated views. So you see the boot on the neck. It shocks the conscience. It affects you emotionally. It creates an emotional reaction. That emotional reaction is going to then facilitate how you write a post, how you respond to a post. Are you going to block someone? Are you not going to block someone? Are you going to unfollow someone? But if you took a moment and you zoomed out of that particular photo, are you going to see the truth? And is the truth going to defeat that perception? Like I said, truth moves like molasses, but if you can dial in your ability to control your immediate reaction to zoom out, you start to close that time gap of of how that has an effect. And why is this important? Because if
So
you go ahead.
real quickly, Alpha, it kind of goes to perception. Like you said, words matter, right? Perception becomes reality. Go ahead, Alpha.
Absolutely. And the reason this is important is because, and you guys have all seen this, social media, and I've covered this before in articles and other things. So the very platform of X, um, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I want to say we talked about this on the last show, maybe even Jenny. They brought in the people that design casinos. They brought in neuroscientists, all these different people to design these things and structure these things to create addictions, to create dopamine hits. Why? Because they know it works. And so, and my apologies if you guys, I'm stirring up my coffee. And for those that are wondering, yes, I use the healthy stuff. I don't put in the poisons. I moved away from creamers. I'm very happy about that. I'm listening, you guys. I'm a Marine. This is a squirrel moment, so just you guys got to roll with me. A lot of people that like coffee, there's a lot of unhealthy poisons that we put into it. I will tell you now, you can move to raw milks, you can move to healthy oats and almond stuff, and still have a very flavorful coffee that's healthy and not bad for you. That's my squirrel moment. But to bring it back to the point, where I was going with this is, if you show self-control and you don't react, then you are assisting in preventing a massive reaction. So I'll put a visual, and then hopefully you guys can find a way to articulate this in your mind. So how would this look for you on the digital platform? When you look at January 6th, hundreds of thousands of people at the Capitol, peaceful. And then all of a sudden you had a few agitators that started to create this reaction. Then other organic people, real Americans saw this. They were zoomed in, not zoomed out, and they had emotional reactions to that, which made that perception of what was going on grow. And then all of a sudden, you had this chain reaction. So you had something that was fake and synthetic affect the emotions of real people, and then all of a sudden, it turned into what we all know. Well, have that kind of mindset on social media. When a post comes out, when a video comes out, when a space is held, you already, like I said, you have the U.S. ambassador, Nathaniel C. Fick, already told you that you have foreign operations in these platforms, and I would argue domestic ones as well, with intelligence agencies. Everybody has an agenda that are here specifically to control your cognitive mind. And so if you know that they're doing this, then you have to ask yourself, well, how do I prevent it? And how do I make sure that I'm not assisting them in accomplishing their mission? And this is irregular warfare on social media. This is fifth generation warfare on social media. This is information warfare on social media. And I wanted that to be the beginning of our conversation, Jenny, as we move into the fun stuff now, just so everybody can understand. Actually, let me make one more statement. You guys have seen me battle a lot of people here on social media. Um, some people enjoy it, some people don't. Now, there are people here that are knowingly spreading misinformation and knowingly pushing an agenda. There are also people here that are pushing that same information but they're not doing it with the intentions of pushing an agenda. They're doing it because they've been bought hook, line, and sinker to believe that narrative. So now they're pushing it. They truly believe it. And then you have useful idiots that are part of this equation. The main thing I want you guys to recognize, and I'm going to use this Israel-Iran thing as a perfect example. Um, you see people going out there saying, well, Israel's done this, 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 and Iran hasn't done this, 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 this. And if you look at it factually, like, well, yeah, that's true. But if you're looking at it through the lens of America first, then I don't care what Israel's position is. I don't care what Iran's position is. What is the thing that's best for America? And if everybody's trying to create something that's polarizing, and the only thing you should be polarized into, and I'm speaking to the Americans here, is your country, America. And for everybody else in their respective countries, your country should come first, and then I would hope America would be second, number two on your list. But for Americans, your primary support should be to America. If you find yourself speaking and defending another country, be it Israel, be it Iran, more than you defend America, that is a fundamental problem. That means you have been compromised. Whether you realize it or you don't, I'm telling you, perception got you. And now you need to zoom out and figure out what you need to fix to make America that priority. And so, with that, Jenny, let me know where you want to go next, and we could shift.
Thank you, Alpha. No, great information. I'm glad that you cover that because again, I think a lot of people need to hear stuff like that, not just from like myself, you, but from other people too. So thank you for sharing that. All right, everybody. So I have a couple hands. Artemis, your hand was up, and Ken Don, I believe, is your hand was up. But real quickly, everybody, before I go into the questions on that part of it, and then Alpha, we can go into the other stuff that we were talking about as well. My spaces are a little bit different, guys. I don't sit here on spaces for all day long, right? So they're typically 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. But I'll tell you this: I don't do drama. I don't do petty. If it's here in my chat, I will remove it immediately. If you're a troll, you will be gone. I don't deal with it. This is the time for people to learn, the guests to come and share their information, whatever it may be. We're here to help you. We do this in our free time. I know I do, and I know Alpha does as well. So guys, be mindful of that. Be respectful of the guests. Be respectful of the speakers, because if you want to come in here and you want to start trolling on this space, I will remove you that quick. So with that, when you raise your hand, if you want to come over here and just blab bullshit, I will remove you. So let's see. Where'd Kendon go? Okay, so they left. Maybe that was a troll. But Artemis, your hand was up. Go ahead.
I'm here. I didn't
Oh,
leave.
my bad.
Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, hold on, Artemis. Go ahead, Kendon. Go ahead. I didn't see you. My bad.
Okay, that's okay. What Alpha just said about perception is very insightful and absolutely 100% correct. They've been using the quick, it's kind of that old Sal Alinsky style, try him in the court of public opinion instead of, innocent until proven guilty kind of thing. And so they've been doing that along with Stalin's police state tactics for quite some time. What I was going to say is the original perception of what I'm about to say would probably shock most people. But honestly, if we wanted to do something about immigration, we could put two 10-foot fences run parallel with a minefield center, and it would stop it overnight. And it would handle rough terrain and everything. And why do I say that? Because in places like Guantanamo Bay, they've had a minefield there for years. People don't know this, but my wife actually lived at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, as a base brat. Okay, nobody ever got killed in that minefield. It didn't happen. You take a place like Morocco; they have 2,000 miles of nothing but Burma dirt and minefield, and nobody ever dies in those minefields. Why? Because they don't have to go there. We have, on top of that, we have all kind of technology where we could pinpoint whenever something does happen, so we can get there real quick and that sort of thing. I don't understand why the perception of that would be horrific. We're not talking about mines laid willy nilly after a war. where people can wander into them and get killed for no reason. We're talking about a fixed border. And that's just
But you know, Kendo, I think that Alpha's talking more of what's happening on this platform
well,
and what we're posting and watching and seeing.
my
I think that's
point
what
is
he's
the
talking about.
perception that he's referring to would apply to that, okay? But now, if you go into the purple pill and you look at what's happened with immigration and what those problems with immigration create, I dropped a couple of things down there. Hopefully, they're still there after what was just said. But if you look at those things, you would see that, you know what, the perception of that is way less than what's currently happening. You know, there's 800 illegal immigrants per year now dying on our border. There's hundreds of thousands of kids dying from drug overdose deaths from what's coming across our border. 30% of the women that come across the border are raped. You're looking at all the hundreds of thousands of crimes created by insatiable drug habits because of what's coming across our border. You're
Okay,
looking at.
real
Are
quickly,
you
Ken
cutting me
Don.
off?
No, just hang on, okay? Let Alpha respond to some of the things that you're saying here. You're kind of going off on a tangent. Let him respond here real quickly. Go ahead, Alpha.
Yeah, I didn't really hear the her question though. I took it more as a statement.
There really wasn't a
It was
question. Yeah,
more
it's
a
just more of a
response to
statement.
what you had said about perception. My response to your talking about perception is you're absolutely right. Perception is everything. People could have a perception of something that seems outrageous. In reality, if you look at the truth of the scenario, go down to the purple pill, you'll see what I'm saying. If you look at the truth of the scenario, you would understand that, wow, I had a wrong perception about that. That was
Well,
crazy
I
that
see
I thought that.
I see what you're saying, Ken, and no, you're correct, and I think, and that's what I was trying to do is to make people understand like how that operates, like just so people understand. Well, what is even perception? Like what's the basic definition of that? And it's the way you interpret or experience something, and typically that's going to be shaped by
The
your
Mockingbird Mafia
your
media
sense.
muppets.
Well, yeah, your senses, your beliefs, your emotions, your bias. Perception's it's highly subjective, and truth, that's objective. And so if we understand that perception is highly subjective, then how do people impact that? And that's by weaponizing your personal experiences, what you just brought up, Ken. So social conditioning, media, to include alt media, your memories, trauma, like that stuff is what's weaponized against you to create perception. And that's why I say, if you zoom out to see the truth, well, what's truth? That's going to be empirical evidence. That's going to be something that, there's logical consistency there. It's a factual reality.
That can, that perception, that false perception can last for decades too. That's the crazy part. It can
And
literally go on
if
for decades.
it historically, yes, but where we're at now, and this is how you can weaponize the deep states, tools, their apparatus against them. Historically, that had that effect. But what we've seen, especially in the last 24 months, is when the media puts something out, a lot of digital soldiers, citizen journalists, anons, truth seekers who don't fall for perception because they recognize it, and that's the key, awareness, because they recognize the power of perception, they immediately go into seeking the truth. Let me find the sources, let me find the receipts, let me see if I can corroborate this or debunk this. And this platform and alt media platforms have created the ability for these independent people to immediately address this and rug pull the nefarious intents people have to weaponize perception. So what we've seen is where the media has been able to control a narrative through perception, like you said, for years on end. We're seeing this truth-seeking community being able to annihilate that in some situations within a matter of hours. And that's why when I was talking about this is, am I allowing them to weaponize perception against me to fulfill their objectives, or can I be someone that's dialed in, has awareness, and I can impact this, because that also can have the effect, just not the way they want.
I say
All
God
right.
bless the people that are bringing receipts. I can bring
Thank you,
one
Kim.
right now over one of those decades old perceptions if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead. Put it in the purple pill, Ken Don. We've got to move on to some hands
Oh,
here. We've
okay.
got some hands raised. So go
All
ahead and
right.
put in the purple pill. Stay up here. I'll circle back to you. But go ahead, Artemis, and then Erickson. You can go after Artemis, and then Sylvia. Go ahead, Artemis.
Hey Jenny, Alpha, Santino,
Hello.
Patriot, Duck, everyone, literally everyone, almost everyone. Um, so the court of public opinion and perception, we really are delving into those realms, and I love that you guys are talking about that. Alpha, when you mentioned going to other spaces and speaking with people you don't normally speak with and hang around, I've kind of space hopped since I started spaces last summer. I haven't done it in a political way yet until recently. And what I will tell you is there's a there's a hard line with people. And I'm trying to determine it as I move forward in all of this, but I wanted to get some feedback. There's a real hard line with people when you try to speak to them about what's happening. And that is this court of public opinion perception thing that they derive their emotions from. So they see something, they hear about something, there's that emotional reaction before you can, really, before most people really discern what is fact and what is not, there's that emotional reaction. And that's, I think, where we're stuck right now, or at least where I'm stuck when I talk to people, because it's really hard when someone's caught up in their emotions, to speak to them okay, about facts. Where do you start? Where do you even begin? So, questions are important. Well, where did you see this? Okay, well, did you know that XYZ is paid for blah, blah, blah? And it's so difficult, guys. We have there's us and the people who are curious and open-minded and are seeking information. And then there's people who are on here who are running off of pure emotion. And I wanted to get some advice or some feedback from you guys about that, because I don't want to dismiss these people who are extremely emotional and can't have logical conversations, right? Because we were all there at some point when we were waking up. It was like, holy crap, we all had a kind of an emotional reaction at some point. So how do we help these folks? I feel like there's almost like an energetic sort of non-verbal, non-tangible way that you have to create a space for them to set that fear aside and become curious. How have you done that successfully? Is there a method? What do you guys think about that?
Willful curiosity is what brought us all here, and all of us, everyone in the room too. I mean, if you don't have willful curiosity, then then you're not the kind of person that connects dots or sees patterns or spends time in nature. What do you call it? Like what we would call a based or a grounded person. People that are acting off of their emotions, I don't believe those are necessarily the people that we can help or even target right now. Those people are for the TV. The TV will take care of them. Believe me, the TV is much more powerful than the band of Anons. Even though we woke up the world 10 years ago, the TV is going to finish the job. I think that was always the plan. But if you got to have willful curiosity, when somebody comes in a room and hears someone like Alpha talking the way he talks with the knowledge he has of both the Q drops and his personal life experiences, or they listen to Jenny or Santino or Paige, any of us in here, even Erickson, even those his goes back to like 1910 or 20. But I mean, everyone has experiences, and if you don't have enough willful curiosity to ask a question, or if you listen to something like a Q drop or a decode of a Q drop that comes out of somebody's mouth, if that wrecks your day, I mean, that's the problem. It's not us. And how do you help that? The answer is, what are you going to sit down or, give them a tranquilizer and decode it with them? You know what I mean? So it was never for everyone. and and that's why we're all anons. You know what I mean? That's why, we do this, and people can yell at us and scream at us and say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, we're just anonymous people, all trying to use the hive mind to do it. If there's no willful curiosity where you don't want to ask that question or jump down that rabbit hole, some people just don't want to do it. We did it, and we got very afraid and fucking freaked out when we got a few steps down the rabbit hole. But you get to a point where you look back up to the top of the rabbit hole, and then you look back down, and either you're the type of person that says, well, fuck it, let's just figure it out, whatever, I'm not dead yet. And then there's the other people that say, fuck this, they jump out of the hole, they can't do it. Those people are the ones that are going to be woken up by the TV. It's going to be painful, it's going to hurt, they're going to go crazy, because the TV is that tree in the woods. If it falls and no one hears it, no one believes it. Well, everyone's going to have to believe it the hard way. And the ones that don't, they'll be hiding in the corner. We did our part, we're still doing it. So
And remember too, hello, Rubber Duck. And remember too, there's a percentage of people that will never wake up, even seeing it. They're not going to wake up, everybody. So, and it's been said that many, many times. I think at this point in time, if they are still not waking up, they are that percentage that's just going to just have to see it to believe it, or they are that disruptor that is purposely being disruptive, causing that chaos.
Ah, see, that's where it gets sticky. Yeah, right there, Jenny, you nailed it. I cannot tell you how wrecked I was for the first couple months, being in the Cappy rooms and then learning about Q. Dude, I was wrecked. I could not leave my house. I would not let my kids like be around anybody. It was bad. And it's hard to discern that sort of shell shock kind of like emotional reaction from the disruptors. It's like, okay, are you like in that mode that we were all in? We were like mad, sad, upset, frustrated at ourselves and other people, or is this like yeah, thank you. It's
Well, and Artemis too, just remember, and anybody here that's new to this journey or whatever, any of these rabbit holes that you choose to go down to, be mindful. Once you go down these rabbit holes and you see what you see, you can't unsee what you see. And I'll tell you, some of these rabbit holes that I've gone down, I can't wipe that from my memory, especially when it comes to the children. So be choosy. And if your mind's not right, let me tell it's your mind's powerful, right? If your mind's not right, don't go down those rabbit holes that you think are going to get your mind twisted, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. All right, Erickson, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. For those of you in the room who don't know who I am, you can just check my profile. Jenny, is it okay if I disagree with almost everything Alpha Warrior says, including his name?
Go ahead, my friend. I'm sure Alpha will come back and have a conversation with you on it.
Why, Erickson? Is it spelled wrong?
No, I'm not into warriors. I never have been into warriors.
it shows.
Erickson, I would love it if you would please call Rubber Duck Rubber Fuck, because I haven't heard you do that in like, I don't know, 8 months or something. And it's super cute and I love it.
He knows I get off on it, so he won't do it.
Oh, that's a crying shame.
Oh, yes, I will. What rubber fuck? Why don't you tell the people what I just sent you?
I'll
Why don't
say
you tell
Pepperidge
them,
Farm
huh?
remembers.
Why don't you tell the people what I just got through sending you, rubber fuck?
Okay, Erickson, why don't you tell us what you sent him?
God damn
You
it,
have
I
the
love you.
you have the floor.
Did you
Okay,
send me something? I don't have anything. If you sent it, I'll share it.
Trump sent Israel $12 billion in military stuff just not long ago at all.
You know, I dug
Cool.
into this a bit. Was that a pre-agreed upon arrangement? So there's a lot of things he's following through with that were like, they've been there for a really long time.
There is a trade war happening right now.
Alpha, you wanna add to that? Alpha, sorry, Erickson, go ahead.
Yeah, it's on my profile if y'all want to read it. It's from the Department of State.
Go ahead, Alpha. Thanks,
No,
Erickson.
I listen. I love Erickson, and I think I'm on the longest run of Erickson following me and not blocking me. So I'm going to navigate these waters very carefully because I really, really like Erickson. For those of you that don't know, because I learned this barely last year, Erickson is actually the one that red pilled Alex Jones. True statement. Alex Jones himself has acknowledged that. So I find that actually pretty cool. You know, whether, military or financial aids going to Israel because Trump's fulfilling, a prior administration's um, promises and deals and contracts, or whether he would have done it regardless. Here's the thing that I'll say in short, because I definitely don't want to make this completely just an Israel conversation, because I feel like every conversation gets turned into that, and there's plenty of that if people want it. But I think a lot of people would concede that Israel, through the different softwares, has access both overtly and covertly into all of our infrastructure, whether it be the banking system, whether it be the justice system, whether it be the medical system. A lot of these platforms, these software platforms that are used in government, were either created or paired up with what's coming out of Israel. Now,
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
with that, there's certain safety precautions that are, air quotes, supposed to happen to prevent things from backdoors happening. But what we know from whistleblowers and, even public statements, that a lot of this stuff at times has shown that it is compromised. And so a lot of people are under the mindset of we should just sever our relationship with Israel right now. And I just want to let me preface this statement with I'm absolutely against the Israeli government, the CCP government, or any government having compromised our government. So understand that that's my position there. Now, that said, is let's just say that we gave what a very small faction of people on this platform call for, that immediate severance of our support for Israel. That would force Israel into one of three scenarios. Um, I think everybody will acknowledge that the reason, or a very strong reason, of why Israel exists right now is because it has, on at least on paper and historically through actions, that everybody knows that if you do pick a fight with Israel, by ally relationship, you're picking a fight with the United States. And so that has kind of been the understanding, for the last couple decades. So if that was severed, you would now have the surrounding countries around Israel um, that would be able to take on Israel, and they would be able to take them out. They would be able to defeat them. You're seeing the conflict with Israel in just one country, and with just Iran. Now, a lot of people say, "Well, why do I care?" This is why you should care. One of the reasons that you have this compromise that exists in our government is because they understand the infrastructure control that Israelis intelligence unit, Mossad and them have of the United States. So if Israel was to collapse today, whoever took over Israel would now have that same control of our infrastructure. And so a lot of people that are pushing, we want to sever a relationship with Israel, they're not doing it because their intentions are American sovereignty. They're doing it because their intentions are, we want somebody else to have that control and manipulation into the United States government. So then how does one navigate this situation? You have to retake control of your sovereignty, because once you retake control of your sovereignty, you don't have to worry about an overt or covert attack into the American infrastructure. And I know we are seeing that play out right now with Trump's relationship with Israel. How do we know this? You have the Wall Street Journal, was it 2 days ago, 3 days ago? They had put out that Trump had approved the plans for Israel to attack Iran. And then you had yesterday, so the Wall Street Journal put that out on the 18th, and then yesterday on the 19th, you had Trump come out and post on Truth that the Wall Street Journal has no idea what his thoughts are concerning Iran. And we know that's legitimate, because the one thing this administration has shown us since day one of the inauguration is their operational security. There's been no leaks in this administration. So why would a powerful mainstream newspaper put something out like that? This goes back to the conversation we had at the very beginning. They want to affect that perception because perception has a more immediate impact than the truth. And the whole point of this is to subvert the support that President Trump has. Now, why would they want to subvert the support Trump has if Trump is quote unquote deep state or quote unquote controlled by the Zionists? Because he's not. The reason they're trying to subvert the support for Trump is because President Trump is the only one that presents a realistic and actionable threat against the deep state. For instance, when you saw Israel begin this conflict with Iran, the first 72 hours was flooded with Benjamin Netanyahu and people from his side, I-24 and others. Oh, President Trump's got our back. We have the assistance of the United States. And here we are, a week in 2 days, a week or a week to the day, I think. And Trump hasn't got involved military at all. He's still pushing. I think we can have peace talks. The Ayatollah comes out and makes a threat. IRGC comes out and makes a threat. Trump counters it. But you have yet to see America do anything. And for what has Trump been doing this? He's been countering the perception of what mainstream media and people with agendas are trying to do to subvert him. And now people are looking like, well, you guys keep saying that Trump's going to do this, 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 and he's not. Now, is Trump going to have a strike on Iran? My opinion is yes. Is it going to be an endless war and is it going to be boots on the ground? I don't think so. I think if a peace agreement's not arranged, I think Trump's going to do a direct hit on, 1, 2, or 3 of those facilities, and it's going to be something that's done in a matter of a few hours. And is this called blind trust? No, this is called educated trust. Because if you go through Trump's first administration, and if you look at his attack on the Houthis during this administration, Trump has shown that he has the game theory, the analysis, and the experience to do strikes that mitigate the situation. And then he has not put us into any new war. And so that's where I would say that level of trust exists with him. So you are going, if you rewind the clock about a little over a month ago now, there was polls going out in Israel, and the Israeli people were polling. They were no longer in favor with the Israeli government extending the wars because they no longer saw them as defense. They saw them as politically motivated. Why is that important? That's important because what I've been saying for over a year now is you're going to see a regime change in Israel. You're going to see a regime change in Iran. And the reason that's going to happen is when that regime change takes place in Israel, it's going to be with a government that Trump is either working with or is going to have the ability to reclaim our sovereignty, either, publicly or privately, but we're going to be able to retake our sovereignty, which is going to allow us then to not have APAC infiltration into our government. It's going to allow us not to be, you know, controlled by the short curlies of we got to do this or we got to do that or we're compromised. So there's a whole lot to it. It would take hours to go into this conversation. I would tell you guys, if you really want like my in-depth analysis and assessment of this, I would say watch my Monday show from this week on Just Alpha, and then watch the second show, which is DEFCON 0 with Real Josh Reed. And I think if you watch those two shows in collaboration, now it's going to be long. You're looking at like probably 5 hours of content, but it's really going to address this in a chronological order, in a timeline, because there's just a lot to address to try to do it in a few minutes.
Yeah, I have to agree that first one I started watching, I got almost done through it. The first one's about 3 hours, right, Alpha?
Yeah, it was long. I was
Just
I
Alpha, yeah.
was tired.
All right, Erickson, did that help at all, or do you want to respond to that before I go on to the next hand?
Yeah, one more thing I'd like to tell you about
Sure.
your peacemaker president, who you call him, has already bombed Yemen and Somalia. That's your peacenik president there. It's
Erickson,
on my,
can I ask you?
it's
Erickson,
on my
can I ask you a question?
profile. It's on my profile.
I wanted to ask you a question,
Thank you,
Erickson.
Erickson.
I want to ask you a quick question, Erickson. So, if we didn't pick President Trump, would you have settled for Kamala Harris? What rhetoric would she have started? Do you think that she would have been a better president? Just a
Well,
question.
the reason we're in the trouble we're in is dumber than dirt people. Americans don't even know who's running their country. The multinational corporations, the banksters, and the military have always been running your country. So that's why we're in so much trouble. People don't even know who's running their country.
Would you say
But
people
you
are
didn't.
waking up? Oh, I'm sorry, Santino. I'm sorry.
No, you didn't answer my question, Erickson. My question was, if we didn't choose President Trump, would Kamala Harris be a better president? What would she have done for us that would have been better or different than President Trump? That was the question.
It doesn't matter who's president. They're just there to take their marching orders from the multinational corporations and the banksters. It doesn't matter. And haven't you ever listened to George Carlin? He told you straight out, they give you a vote to make you think you have a choice. You never had a choice. You're owned.
So I don't disagree with you on most of that, Erickson. But let me ask you this: and I think a lot of people don't understand that there's a deep state apparatus that controls the global governments um, to push a new world order, a one world religion. I mean, you definitely agree there. But just hypothetically or theoretically, Erickson, entertain this question for me. If we know that there was a group of enough evil people to put together a plan to push a new world order agenda because they're that nefarious, do you not believe that there is a group of people that are so good and loving of humanity that they have the equal ability to formulate the opposite of a clandestine operation, but a good guy operation to combat that on the same terms of these battles, these hidden battles behind the curtain? Theoretically, is that possible?
There's only one thing that's going to defeat the evil ones in this world. And believe me, this is generational, going back thousands of years. Only one thing is going to stop it, and that's the people of this world. Nothing else is going to stop it. As long as we keep having dumber than dirt people who don't know that all wars are by design. You think this is just random that this just happened? No, it's not. It was planned and executed by the globalists, the
But
ones
and
that
that's what I'm saying,
orchestrate
Erickson.
everything. Your
That's what I'm
mass
saying,
shootings are
Erickson.
orchestrated by the globalists. Your
Erickson.
wildfires are orchestrated by the
Erickson.
globalists.
Erickson, hold on a
Erickson,
sec. Erickson,
take a breath. Take a breath
let
real quick, Erickson.
let Alpha speak, please.
The vast majority of the people in this room don't disagree with you there. My question to you, though, is the same way that an evil group came together to facilitate this global plan, as you articulated, and like I said, for the most part, I agree with you. Do you not think that it's at least theoretically possible that the equivalent on the good side, by the grace of God, divine intervention, the way, because I believe in God, would facilitate an operation to combat that? Do you not think that that's theoretically possible?
Absolutely not. The only thing that's going to save the world is the people of the world.
Okay, well, then there, me and you split paths because I absolutely believe it. And here's what I'll say, and this is hypothetically
Alpha,
because
Alpha, Alpha. Ask him how would the people go about doing that?
that's where I'm going right now, Robert. But rather than ask him,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna lay it out. You know, if you look at history, at least the way it's been taught to us, when governments become tyrannical, it's the duty and obligation of the people to instill a new government. And if you go based off of history, that came through a revolution, not a civil war, but a revolution. Here's the conundrum that exists right now. The same global new world order that Erickson is talking about is the same one that wants that response. And why do they want that response? Because there's a new variable that exists today that didn't exist 250 years ago. And that's called artificial intelligence. And a lot of people are trying to minimize this AI race to something as simple as, well, it's a surveillance state. And it's not. No, there's an AI race for superintelligence. And the one thing from speaking to people who are authorities in this matter, people that are authorities in pro AI and people that are authorities and are anti AI, this is Skynet, right? Which is a concern that I and a lot of you have. The two things that they've agreed on: you cannot put the genie back in the bottle. AI is not going away. That's the first thing that both of them agreed on. The second thing that they both agreed on is whoever obtains super intelligence first, it's indefinite. By the very definition of what super intelligence is, number two will always be number two, because super intelligence will always be able to use the inferior AI to understand where it's going to always stay ahead. So there's a lot of people racing for it, but the ones that are like the leaders in this race is us in the CCP. So why do I say that? To answer Erickson's question, if let's just say that a kinetic, hypothetically, for the people that want to take things out of context, in a hypothetical situation, let's say a revolution unfolded in America and we saw the collapse of the US government, there would take a time to reconfigure America to however the people wanted it. Some people would want smaller government, some people would want no government, whatever. What the time that it would take for people to reconfigure what America would look like, we would get annihilated into the race of artificial intelligence, which would then lean the superiority to China, which means at that point it don't matter what you want, because everybody says, well, then we'll just go to war. There is no military on the world that is going to win a war against superintelligence, because superintelligence has the ability to hack anything that exists: your nuclear codes, your jets, your subs, your ships, your medical, your finance. You are literally enslaved by technology and AI superintelligence. So why do we see this, quote unquote plan unfolding the way it is? Because Trump has to navigate this war that we're in by satisfying multiple layers of people. And this kind of goes to what Reaper was speaking on earlier. There's some people at this level, there's some people at this level. How do we address this? What Reaper, I don't know if you realize this, Reaper, but what you articulated is exactly the position that Trump is in. He has to suffice the court of public opinion, which is the normies, the ones that don't know about what Erickson's talking about, this new world order. But he also has to be able to suffice the court of public opinion for the people that are awake and realize, hey, our government's compromised. Hey, we haven't really been told the truth. And he also has to be able to satisfy the court of public opinion for the advanced anons, like the rubber ducks and the Santinos and the Jennies that are here. And so when you hear statements Trump makes, when you see actions Trump takes, and then you see moves that he actually does that are contrary to all this, and you're saying, well, he says this, but then he does that, is because he's literally navigating that problem that Artemis laid out there, because he knows we have to reclaim American sovereignty. We can't let too much chaos unfold in the world, because the entire world is dealing with this battle against this new world order that Erickson talked about. And at the same time, as people start to come awake to these things, they're going to realize the religious institutions and the government institutions have been manipulated and hijacked to sow chaos and to sow control, whether through politics, spirituality, or religion, to control the masses, the people. And so he has to make sure that, because everybody in this world has been programmed to perceive other people in other countries as certain threats, that there's people that will die for politics and there's people that will die for religion. And when you understand that, he has to navigate this evolution of war to make sure that the deep state doesn't get what they want. And that's why I'm saying is, you have to give this man some time to work. And if you look at the precedents that he has set between his first administration, didn't start no new wars, used strategic strikes to take down this deep state new world order, because they want these endless wars and Trump hasn't given it to them. And now we're approaching the apex. We're approaching the near-death experience of, are we looking at World War III? Are we looking at a nuclear war? And what you're going to see, and Trump hinted to this yesterday, I like to wait to the last second before I made a decision. That is a very critical statement. And why? Because there's a guy out there that a lot of people give grief to, 107. And one of the things that he has been very consistent with over the last couple of years is that the country and the world is going to get brought to the brink of the near-death experience before the precipice, that catalyst, can be invoked to finally shift the tide into something that's going to be, it's going to be more public and not so cryptic anymore. And if you listen to Trump's statement yesterday, if you look at the posts that he's been making, where, listen, it is no longer cryptic. The man is posting outright Q drops. Outright. He made a statement 2 days ago. I went from being the hunted to the hunter. It's the second most powerful statement, in my opinion, in the drops, because it precedes the statement that's coming about the storm, which is going to be that precipice. And if you look at this intelligence operation of the cube boards, and you overlap that with what's going on in the world right now, with this on the brink of war, it all adds up to, we're approaching that NDE. And what you're going to see is going to reshape the perception of everybody. And remember what I said, perception has that initial impact. Well, you're finally going to see the truth catch up to perception and past perception. And that's what's the game changer for humanity. Now, that said, just because, like I said, I love Erickson, and I want to satisfy his thought process, is it's important to have people like Erickson. It's important to have people like Erickson that are never going to trust anybody, because that thought process has to exist in the formula of what's happening in the world. Why? Because that means that we have to have a contingency. Because what if Erickson is right? If we wait to see if he's right to develop a contingency, it's too late and we're in trouble. So what I will say is, if I have a contingency for the scenario that Erickson's pointing out, then I can guarantee you there are other people much more powerful and much more smarter than me that have a contingency for that. So just because I don't believe that's going to happen doesn't mean that there's a contingency if that happens. And with that, Jen, I got about 20 minutes and then I got to get ready, because I'm going to be doing an interview here shortly with 107.
Okay, yeah, I just did one with him the other day. Cool. All right. Okay, so Erickson, do you want to respond to that real quickly? And then I think I have 3 hands to go to. You good for that?
Yeah, just quickly, the AI thing, that's what the evil ones are using to take over the world. You've got the chief of the United Nations, which, by the way, the United Nations is part of the evil ones. The UN chief saying that AI is going to threaten our very existence. It's on my timeline. The next one is Elon Musk, who I believe is an evildoer too. Elon Musk on video saying, with AI, we are summoning the demon.
Well, that really echoes Palantir and the all-seeing eye.
AI
Thank you,
is
Erickson.
thousands of years old. AI, Erickson, AI is thousands of years old, oh buddy. Nothing is new under the sun.
I'm very aware of that.
So it ain't about to
For
take
whatever
over.
it's worth, I mean, oh, I'm sorry, Patriot.
If it's thousands of years old, then how is it about to do anything? What if it's already did it?
Well, the next time you find your ass locked down again globally, maybe you'll start understanding shit. You should have woke up in
Easy.
2020.
Easy, friend. Easy. Erickson,
That's
babe.
so angry. Have a
Come
glass of
on. That was
milk.
a little low.
Relax.
That was a little low, friend.
Yeah, that wasn't nice, Erickson. All right, let's go to Sylvia. You had your hand up, and then Sam James. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sylvia.
Happy Friday. Thanks for having this great space. Got a quick question for Alpha Warrior. So, growing up in Germany in the 80s, we had an influx of Iranians come to, I don't think it was millions, probably hundreds of thousands after the Shah's regime fell. And I felt like that was a mockingbird too now. We had a lot of the German government bought up bed and breakfast all through little towns all across the country and filled them with Iranian refugees. And they were all like chemists, physicians, sort of like the Operation Mockingbird, what they did right after World War II. And they were saying, with the Shah, Iran was such a modern world. They loved the Shah and everything was so modern. And then when Ayatollah Khomeini took over, I mean, they went way back. But it seems like it was run then by the CIA and it's run now by the CIA. What do you think, Alpha Warrior? Is it just two sides of the same coin, what they're doing with Iran?
So that's one. You got to go watch those two podcasts, Sylvia, because we address this at length. So I'll give you the short answer to this. It's absolutely two sides of the same coin. Every conflict we've ever known. However, it's not just that simple either, because you have the good guys that have introduced a third variable to that coin. So it's no longer just a two-sided coin. Now you have, one entity that controls both sides and another entity that's creating the disruption. The same way you have this global world order that has infiltrated and hijacked every intelligence agency, you have a group of people that are for humanity that have done counterinsurgencies. And there is a man that is going to take a position very soon who is, in my opinion, the godfather of counterinsurgencies. And when you see that unfold, people are going to realize that, holy smokes, these people knew what they were talking about. So just understand that the answer to your question is yes, but it's not going to be able to operate the way it historically has done, because this time it does have an opposing force that's infiltrated it as well.
And also, what was that young lady's name? Sylvia?
Yes.
Sylvia, as far as the CIA, and I'm sure in conjunction with, the other satanic agencies, that run with them, Mockingbird wasn't just for the United States. Mockingbird was, they sent those people all with the United States stamp of approval. But those chemists, those scientists, biologists, the JB, the rocket people, they were sent to any other. In other words, they were sent to whatever countries at that time were targeted. And you could bet, like you said, Iran would have been one of them.
Yeah, they all had
Thank
they all had passports like in the 80s. They were just there for a few months, less than 6 months in Germany, and they all were getting passports to come to the United States in the early 80s.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Alpha. And thank you, Rubber Duck. All right. Let's see. Go ahead, Sam James. Your mic is unmuted.
How are you, Miss Jenny?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, Miss Jenny, but I got a problem. I need your help with it. What I'm about to say is going to offend some people in here. Alpha Warrior, I respect you as a man, a human being in America, an American, but I everything you just unloaded on us for the last 30 minutes was an absolute pile of dog shit. It has
Who's
absolutely
talking?
zero.
Jenny, who is
My
it?
name
Okay,
is Sam
Sam,
James.
Sam, you know
Yeah,
what?
Sam
Listen,
James. Hang
listen,
on.
you can voice your opinion, but
Okay,
don't
just
tack
don't
on.
cuss. Just don't
Just
cuss.
don't cuss and don't talk. Just voice your opinion. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. Everything you just said was absolute conjecture. It wasn't followed by any facts. You sit here and tell all these people that we just need to trust the process, trust the plan. Israel's going to be saving for last. Everything's going to work out. AI and all this nonsense. When you and I spoke 2.5 months ago, you told us to trust the plan. As of today, we're almost in World War III with Iran. We're bombing Iran for no reason other than Israel. You just sat here and said the deep state, the deep state, the deep state. Trump's got to move here. He's got to move there. Who is the deep state? You sat here and told American citizens that we need to just sit back while Israel has all of our infrastructure and all of our computer networks, and we're just supposed to sit back and take it because Trump has a plan.
Is
Are
this
you
is this
kidding
guy
me, man?
Well,
listening
hold
to
on. No,
another
let
space?
him
I
cook.
never heard that.
Let him cook, because I got a response, but let him cook.
Thank you, Alpha. I appreciate that. It's just it's absolute nonsense, man. He has surrounded himself. MAGA. Let me tell all you guys something. MAGA is bigger than Trump. MAGA is bigger than me. MAGA is bigger than you. It is a movement. It is an American movement. When Trump's gone, MAGA will still continue. But what he promised us pre-election is not what he's delivering. He promised us smaller government. Did not deliver. He promised us tariffs, did not deliver. He did deliver on the closed borders. Barack Obama deported 3 million people. There was no riots in the streets. Now we're in World War III with Israel, who everyone is against us now as American citizens. You can't even safely travel outside the country because they connect us with Israel and their genocide. It's not right. So what you're telling these people is BS, man. You're saying we just need to sit back and trust the plan. What plan? There hasn't been a plan. He's failed at almost everything he's tried to do. So can you please explain to us what you're talking about?
Go ahead,
Yes.
Alpha.
So first, let me start. How many of my podcasts have you watched?
None.
Okay. How many of my Substacks have you read?
None.
Okay. How many of my spaces have you listened to?
None.
So, on what authority do you speak that I've told people to trust the plan and do nothing?
Because I had a conversation with you personally 2.5 months ago, and you said trust the plan. You said that to me. You said the same thing you
Okay.
just told
So,
these people.
so
Hold on, please allow me to answer.
hold on. You
Okay, go ahead.
you got
Go
to
ahead.
cook. So
Go ahead,
now
sir. Yes, yes,
I'm
sir.
responding.
Alpha, I'm in
Yes,
his
sir.
So,
Alpha. I'm in his replies. He rolls with Godfrey, just so you know.
well, it's fine. So, do you know when we speak about a plan? Do you know what we're talking about, James?
When you said what plan? All you talk about is a plan. Which plan?
It's just a simple question.
It's a yes or no.
When
It's
we
a
talk
yes
about
or
the
First of all, I'm
no.
plan,
talking to him. He's a grown man. Me and him are having a conversation. So sit down.
So Sam, relax, take a breath. These people are we're all friendlies here.
Okay, but I'm
I would
talking to
assume
you. I don't need
our
him.
objective is all the same, which is humanity winning. So, understanding that we all have the same objective, let's just bring down the temperature a second. When we speak about the plan, do you know what it is that we're referencing?
You're referencing taking out the deep state and taking our country back, our sovereignty. Is that correct?
In short form, yes. So,
Okay.
what issue do you have with that ideology?
Because you're sitting here telling these people we just need to wait and trust the plan.
Okay, so
Meanwhile,
that's where I want to
hold on.
pause. No,
You
no, no,
asked
no,
the
no. You
question,
answered the
please.
question. You answered it.
But yet we're
There's
at World
not. Well,
War
hold
III right
on,
now.
Sam, hold on.
Come on, bro.
There's not one time in my digital existence that I have ever uttered the words sit back and do nothing. If you've watched my podcasts, if you've read my Substacks, if you've listened to my spaces, I have actively pushed back against that. I have actively said that the intelligence agencies have infiltrated the Q movement to have people push the ideology sit back and do nothing. I am adamantly against that. I have done several podcasts telling people to run for local office. I have done several podcasts telling people to take over their school boards. I have outlined historically in my digital footprint real life engagement because the plan is we the people. I have always said that whether you believe Q or you don't believe Q, it doesn't alleviate you of your responsibility to be part of that solution. People have reconfigured that, oh, people are they trust the Q board. No, it's called they have Q awareness and they integrate that awareness into how they approach this stuff. Do I believe that Trump is facilitating an operation to save our country and humanity? Absolutely. Does that mean that I don't do anything? Absolutely not. So when you sit here and you push the rhetoric that that's what I'm telling people, you're outright lying, especially when you haven't watched any of my content. When you say, what has Trump done? The man has already, in 6 months, rescued nearly 100,000 unaccompanied children. President Trump has shut down the border 97% secured. Why is that important? Because that has reduced the human trafficking in America. That has reduced the narcotic trafficking into America. But
I understand that,
so
sir.
well,
I
then
understand that.
if you
Hold
hold
on.
on,
You can't talk
I didn't
forever. We got
interrupt.
to go back and
I didn't
forth.
interrupt you, Sam. If you understand that, then how can you sit up here with the responsibility of a microphone and say Trump has done nothing when he absolutely has done? You've seen judges arrested. Why? Because Trump's DOJ has said if you're going to sit there and hide illegals in this country, no one's above the law. You just saw a senator or a congressman during a press briefing try to arrest, I believe it was Christy Nome, and then got tackled and arrested because of how he did by the FBI. You're seeing government officials that are being held accountable and being arrested. You just had today Trump come out and say, we have enough information now to support a special investigator into the 2020 election, which is one of the things that we've all been wanting. That's Trump trying to secure, which is the baseline for everything. If you don't have fair and free elections, nothing else matters. Everything that we're talking about is irrelevant if we don't have the ability. So you can't sit here, and we can go on and on with the things that President Trump has done. You can't say that the man has done nothing when in 6 months he has done more for this country than most administrations have all done in combination for the last 20 years.
Okay, real quickly, Sam, real quickly. I know Alpha has another show to do, so your hand is up. If you want to respond to that, go for it. Go ahead, Sam.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Alpha, I want to preface my comments by saying, bro, I trust you. I think you're a good dude. I'm not saying I agree with everything that you say or do, but I think your heart's in the right place. But I agreed with you that the border has been shut down, and I am 1,000% for it. I agreed with you that he has stopped the child trafficking that Biden and Kamala and the rest of those psycho Democrats push through our country. I agree with you 1,000%. But where's the Epstein tapes? Where's the 9/11? Where's the actual truth that he promised us pre-election that it seems to be nobody's talking about it? But all of a sudden, we're in a war with Iran.
where is your guarantee that there will be no civil war if all of
I'm
that
sorry,
shit
I
is
thought I was
disclosed
talking to
today?
Alpha.
Well, now you're talking to
I
me.
don't want to talk to you.
Well, answer the question.
I don't have to. I was talking to Alpha. Goodbye. Go make a
Answer
sandwich.
the question.
What's your question?
Alpha, have him answer that
I'll
question.
answer it. What's it? What's the question?
Could you guarantee there would be no civil war if all of the data you just said was released today, just like you want it to be?
Could I guarantee? What kind of question is that? Could anyone in here guarantee that?
It's no different than the shit
Could
you
you?
brought up
Can
here.
you?
Well,
Can you
I'm trying to
guarantee?
explain to you that's why it hasn't happened yet. You don't understand that, do you? You see riots on the streets. You see we're in the middle of a geopolitical situation, and you want to have Epstein lists come out. You want to have pedophile and child murder out there in the streets right now.
Did he
You don't think
promise
there
us
would
that or
be?
not?
You don't think there would be a civil war? Yeah,
Did
he
he promise
promised it,
that or
and he's
not?
going to be there for 4 years.
Did he promise it or not? Yes or no?
He'll be there for 4
Did he promise
years.
it or not?
He did, but hold on one second. Let me
This is
throw
by
something
the
in
way,
here.
this is a total straw
It's
argument.
coming.
I can't stand this shit.
So you guys, hang on a
Well,
second here,
we're
everybody.
not
Real
really.
quick, hang on, real quickly, everybody. Alpha has another show, so we got to be a little bit respectful of that. He did say that right now, so let's Rubber Duck, go ahead and finish what you're saying with Sam, and I think Reaper's trying to chime in. What time? How much more time do you have there, my friend Alpha?
I could do a max of 10 minutes.
All right, guys. So let's be mindful of that, please. Let's not make this an argument because, again, if you listen to Sam and if you listen to Alpha, I mean, they're kind of on the same page a little bit. But also too, Rubber Duck has a lot of good information. Sam, I highly recommend that you listen to Rubber Duck. He's straightforward, but he gives you the truth, and he gives a lot of great information. So I mean, really, everybody up here on the panel is speakers, and a lot of people I'm seeing in this room. Sapphire, we've got Darren in here. We've got so many people. Turtles in here. Patriot Storm was in here. To whom there's a lot of people in here that give a lot of great information. So go ahead, Sam and Alpha, and then Rubber Duck, if you guys kind of want to tie this in so Alpha's not late.
Alpha, my only issue with you, brother, my only issue with you is that it seems to me, and I could be 1,000% incorrect, but it seems to me that you're blindly following Trump. No matter what Trump does, you just, yes, he's right, he's right, he's right. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I have a problem with that. As an American, as MAGA, I have a problem with that. Everyone should be judged on their actions and the consequences thereof. It doesn't matter if it's you, if it's me, or it's Trump. And what I'm saying is right now, we're worried about World War III when this should have never happened over Israel. We should have let them do their own thing. And you're saying, hey, they got us by the balls. Sorry, didn't mean to cuss, but we're not allowed to do anything about it. We can't do anything about it until we fix our infrastructure. And Alpha, you know this being military and vet, so do I. When somebody has your comms, when your comms are compromised, what do, Alpha? You change comms, bro. It's not that hard, dude.
But you don't know the comms.
So I'll do a real quick rebuttal so we can get to these next hands, but I'll use the military analogy. When I got into boot camp as a young Marine and we got into the chow hall, you go into the Marine Corps and you're like, train me to shoot rifles, fire rocket launchers, drive tanks and fly jets. But one of the first things that I was taught as a young Marine was how do I hold a cup of water or juice? And the way it was you hold it with one hand, like a C, and then the other hand, so my left hand's holding the cup like a C, and then my right hand is on top of the cup. And that's how we're taught to walk around with our drink. And I remember thinking, why in the hell am I being taught to hold this cup of milk, juice, or water this way? This is weird. Nobody holds their drink this way. But if you didn't do it, they harped on your ass. It just didn't make no sense. And then we fast forward a couple months into the evolution of basic training, and we get to grenade training. And imagine my surprise when they held out the grenades and said, "This is how you hold it. Your strong hand holds it like a C, and your opposite hand holds it up on top of it, like it's covering." And I was like, "Holy shit." The last 10 weeks has been creating muscle memory because I'm going to be holding an explosive device in my hand. It's not called blind trust. When you look at what's going on with President Trump, it's educated trust. He has one administration where he showed he didn't put us in any wars. He has one administration where he showed he has the ability to use strategic strikes to accomplish what his mission is without putting
It's
us
not true,
into endless
Alpha. No,
wars.
that's not
It
true,
is
bro.
true. It is true. Name
He
one
didn't
war that
start
he started.
Ukraine. He didn't start
He
Ukraine.
didn't start Ukraine. No, he didn't. If you want to go into the fundamentals of Ukraine, you got to go all the way back to the color revolution and before
We can
that,
go to
because you had
2014. Yeah, I get you.
you well, no, it goes beyond 2014, because you had a government installed in Ukraine that was aligning with and working with Russia. It was the deep state that didn't like that relationship, so we created a coup in Ukraine. This goes way past 2014.
Okay,
And
Alpha, you don't have a.
it's what's happened. It's what's happened all around the world with the Congo. Anytime a country has tried to express its sovereignty, the intelligence agencies, the Operation Gladio of the world, has gone in and to remove those people to install people that are going to allow and facilitate what the deep state wants.
Okay,
Exactly what Erickson was talking
but
about.
brother, you only have a
Well,
little bit of time.
hold on, Sam,
Okay,
because I
go ahead.
really do got to go and I want to get to these hands, and I just want to close this point because it's important. Is people say, oh, it's blind trust into Trump. No, Trump has already 4 years and 6 months of showing us his ability to accomplish missions. If you look at what took place with the Houthis, everybody said, "Oh, he's being controlled by Zionists. He's doing it for Israel." And ultimately, the arrangement that he had with the Houthis was, "You're not going to bomb American commercial and military vessels." And the Houthis said, "Well, we're going to do what we do with Israel." Trump said, "You're not going to do this to American commercial." He's doing what's at the behest of the American people, understanding that the Houthis are a proxy to Iran. So what I'm saying is, it's not about addressing concern for this administration. I think we should always have, an eye open to what government's doing. What I'm saying is the same way people have weaponized the word anti-Semitic, people have weaponized the phrase, "I'm just questioning my government." And when you look at the historical data of certain people on this platform that are like, "Oh, I'm just showing concern," but you go look at their digital footprint, it doesn't align with the statement. They show historical pattern of constantly attacking Trump, constantly doing this. So what you have is people that are trying to subvert this presidency. They're trying to subvert the support for this presidency under the guise of MAGA's anti-Semitism, which is the phrase, "Oh, I'm just questioning my government." Because if people are questioning their government and then Trump comes out, because you've had people that have pushed, if you go all the way back to before he was even inaugurated, people were pushing this Project 2025 against Trump, and oh, it's going to be this, and it's all going to be
Can I
that.
please
And
respond
then
before
and
you
then
have to go?
President Trump came out and said that's a Heritage Foundation thing. I don't align with that. And then you had the president of the Heritage Foundation come out and said, no, this Trump is not associated with us. Now, those people that were pushing the rhetoric, did they come out publicly and said, hey, we had this concern? Trump addressed it. It's no longer a concern. We understand these are two separate entities. They never did. Why? Because it was never an issue of concern. It was an issue of subversion. And that's why I'm saying, and that's why I started this conversation with, I don't know if you were here at the beginning, Sam. What I told people is, as we start to approach the precipice of this information war, good and bad start to blend and shit gets very confusing and people exploit that. So if people want to address concerns for Trump, do it, but be honest. when people are saying Trump's big, beautiful bill is authorizing surveillance, I've asked, show me in the bill where it says that, because it doesn't. And have people come out, well, and you've had certain people say, well, I've never said that. There's constant videos that people have sent to me where, yes, you and others have said that. And so what I'm saying is if your true intentions are concerned, then deliver it in an honest way. And if you aren't trying to subvert Trump, then why are you not acknowledging the accomplishments that he's done? And so, once again, I'm not looking at this as the boot on the kid's neck, the analogy I used at the very beginning. I'm zooming out and saying, is this a person that does show overall concern? And I'll use a perfect example. He's not in here anymore, but he was in here earlier. Mike Mack. Mike Mack will address certain concerns that he has with President Trump, but he also makes a very aggressive effort to make sure that his position is understood and to make sure that he's addressing the positive things that Trump's doing. He's also making sure to address the concerns he has with adversaries to America. So when you zoom out and you look at Mike Mack's approach to what's happening in the realm of Trump, you can see there's very honest intentions in there that include concerns with moves that President Trump's making. Now, when you see those things absent in other people, I think it's clear as day that there is a motive and agenda just to subvert him. James or Sam, go ahead and take 30 seconds to rebuttal. I'll give you last words. I'm not going to respond to anything you say, and then we'll get to Artemis.
My last question for you.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, we can't hear him. But yeah, go ahead, Sam.
It
And then
was
I
it
wanted
was the
Rubber.
double mute. I apologize.
Real quickly, Sam, you can respond. Then I want to go to
It's
Rubber
going to be
Duck,
real
and he
fast.
can do a rebuttal.
It's
So go
going to be
ahead.
real fast.
I'm good. I'm good, guys. Jenny, I'm good. I said my piece.
Okay.
Alpha, what do you think is going to happen if we do as you think that you said you think we're going to do and bomb Iran and knock out one of their nuclear facilities? You think they're just going to sit there and have tea? What do you think is going to happen to all of our military bases in the Middle East? You guys sit here and say you're MAGA, America first, and you care about soldiers. You think Iran's just going to sit back and just allow that to happen? Then what happens when American soldiers come in home in body bags because we bombed somebody for no freaking reason? Wake up, guys. That's all I have
Okay,
to say.
so quick, just to answer your question very quickly, you're not going to see deployment of U.S. troops like we had in Iraq or Afghanistan because that's not the type of war that this would be with Iran. That just strategically, that's not the way you would facilitate this war. You would have air superiority to take out, surface to air missiles, their ballistic stuff, and these attacks on these facilities. You would have special forces in collaboration with our allies to assassinate the remaining leaders that exist. And what you would actually see is Americans and allies, and this is the worst case scenario I'm addressing that you brought up, that would facilitate that regime change in Iran. But this time, instead of historically the way they do it, a regime change to improve what the deep state wants, you would actually see something that reflects what the Iranian people want. Two,
And
Real-
Really quickly, I just want to say really quickly, the script changes every day. For example, right now, Vladimir Putin is saying that he's with Iran. The war is to the west. This is not platoon. This is not boots on the ground. This is more of an airstrike. It's a different type of war. People have to understand. It's not going to be people running through valleys, up hills, up down. It's all going to be in the sky. It's all going to be cyber AI, all that
well, and here's
stuff.
the other thing, and this is why, if you understand, like I said, to awareness, if you understand the geopolitical window outside of what mainstream media paints, who were we in a major tariff war a few weeks ago? China. And why was that so significant? Because we hurt their economy big time. Why did they have to start dumping some of the American debt that we had to buy? Because you had this economic war that was taking place. Why was Trump giving a gut punch to China that early on with this tariff war? Because China, remember, there's an artificial intelligence race going on, which requires energy. And because of this tariff war that was going on, and you can, this is all open source, you can all go look at this yourself. China is heavily dependent on who for oil? Iran, for its quantity and the discounted rate that it goes at. So if there was a massive war with Iran, that has a direct, immediate impact on China when they're still trying to recover from the preemptive economic warfare that Trump did on them already. So what does that tell us? That Trump knew all this was going to unfold. He knew the deep state was going to try to push this world war. He knew the alliances that Iran had. So what he will do? He put Iran's biggest ally with the economic warfare punch to not put them in a position to where they could help Iran in a war. So what you are seeing is Iran's not showing restraint. China's restraining Iran because China's not in a position to allow Iran to have this big war. And so, what does that allow Trump to do? It allows Trump, if it comes down to, make a strike on these nuclear facilities without going beyond that. And then you'll probably end up seeing some form of peace talks. There's a reason Trump established such a strong relationship with Putin. There's a reason he was in the Middle East a couple of weeks ago, because he understands that China needs the Middle East in order to help them advance in the energy portion of this race to superintelligence with AI. This is what's all
And
been going on. And that's why it's so important to zoom out and look at the big picture so that these perceptions of these headlines that people try to talk about aren't exactly how it's really unfolding.
And back to the beginning of this podcast, everybody. Words mean, things, right? So I forgot what I was going to say. But you were talking about, when Trump says we caught them all, we have it all, that means something, everybody. It goes right back to what Alpha was just saying. So, Alpha, I know you got to go, but Reaper, you had your hand up, so did Artemis. Do you guys have questions for Alpha? If not, I know he's got to go do his other show.
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. I was trying to speak to
You're good?
Sam, so Sam left. So bye, Sam. Oh, well.
What about you, Reaper? You good?
Annoying to say because Sam had made some things. So, if a tree falls and nobody heard it fall, did it still fall?
Exactly.
Jenny, Alpha had a really good, valid point at the beginning of this podcast. He said that Trump has validated, I want to echo that, validated everything that we have been speaking about by bringing those comments up, those quotes, wearing the Q plus on his cuff there, all this stuff, every single thing he spoke about, he has validated. President Trump is validating that we are on the right path, that the things that we've been discussing are on point, are correct. So, I mean, to question what we're doing, I mean, that's crazy. The president of the United States is validating us that we have been speaking the truth.
Well, and it's just like yesterday what he posted on his True Social, everybody. I think he's giving us a nod because he knows that we have been waiting for something, because he's so cryptic and he's so coded when he speaks. And if you don't know how to follow that, I understand that. But I'm telling you, everybody, like Alpha said, and I've been telling my audience, if you're not following anybody, follow Donald Trump. At least, because he's now just coming out and telling us, kind of like 107. 107 has been very cryptic, but he is coming out and telling us. We have SGN coming out being a little bit more direct. I mean, so many of these people that I have as guests, I'm sure Alpha does too, they are not being as cryptic anymore because things are happening, everybody. I mean, things are happening. So, Alpha, I know you got to go. Thank you so much for being here, my friends, and we'll get you back on. And yeah, let me know when you have that show done with 107. I'll post it for you.
If Alpha needs water wings, I have an extra pair.
I want to leave you guys with a post that's going to show up here probably in the next hour or two on social media. But I want to read it to you guys. Um, it's from caterpillar to butterfly, the red pill metamorphosis. And I think this analogy will kind of help people in understanding what's going on. It's not very long, so I'd like to use this as my closing statement, Jenny, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So the first phase, the caterpillar phase, the program life. In the beginning, you're a caterpillar, programmed to consume, trudging along in a system you didn't design. You live inside the matrix, unaware of the trap. You eat what you're fed, news, culture, ideology. You move through life unaware that you're being conditioned, sleepwalking, safe, sedated, controlled. Then you get into phase two, the cocoon phase, the red pill awakening. Something happens. You see the glitch, a lie exposed, a truth too heavy to ignore. The red pill moment hits. It hits hard. You enter the cocoon. The cocoon is dark, painful, and isolating. You begin to dissolve everything you thought you knew: family, government, media, history, faith, science. It all breaks apart. This is where most people turn back, but not you. This is the information war. This is the storm. This is the furnace. And inside this cocoon, you die to who you were. You get into the next phase. The butterfly emerges, the advanced anon. But you don't stay broken. You rebuild, smarter, sharper, stronger. You emerge transformed, no longer crawling, but now you're soaring. You just don't see the matrix, you map it. You read the signals, you decode the comms. You don't react, you anticipate. You're no longer seeking the truth, you embody it. You don't follow Q, you operate with Q level awareness. You don't post for attention, you transmit your mission. You are now butterfly, free, airborne, and dangerous to the matrix. The next phase, the butterfly has a job: spread light, pollinate the truth. But a butterfly is not just pretty, it's purposeful. It travels far, pollinating, activating life wherever it goes. Likewise, the advanced anon, the digital soldier, spreads seeds of awareness, plants ideas that change and challenge lies, and awakens others through presence, memes, words, and action. You are now part of a greater awakening. You are not a victim of the storm, you are the storm. And I really, really enjoyed this conversation, Jenny. And again, I thank you and Santino for having me.
I'm
Oh, thank
crying. I'm crying.
Thank you, Alpha. You know, like I said, I'm going to get you back on. I love having you on the show. And Rubber Duck, it was a joy to have you, my friend. You got to come out of hiding more often, sweetie. And Santino, as always, you are a great co-host. So thank you so much. And all of you for being here. Thank you for just wanting to know the truth and get the information, whether we agree to disagree. This is how it all has to happen, guys. But like I said, pay attention to who you're following. If you're not following anybody, follow Donald Trump for sure. So with that, everybody, you guys have a great weekend. And Alpha, God bless you. Love you guys. And we'll talk.
Love you, Jenny.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.